Okay.
Chores. Okay. Look back. So ready to go.
All right. Well, we're waiting for Francis to return.
Yeah.
But like the first thing that I will ask you is to tell me your name and a little bit about yourself, so that whoever watches can get a glimpse of who you are and what you've done. Just a short bit. So yeah, that's what the first question will be.
Oh, thank you.
All right. All good like that? Do you like it like this?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, all good.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
You've asked her to say
Yeah.
her name, obviously. If you talk to me,
Okay.
yes, rather than to the camera, it might be
Yeah.
easier for you.
Yeah.
But it feels to me as if you're pretty much, you know what you've come here to say.
Ish.
So, if you need prompting,
Okay,
someone will prompt.
do prompt me. Please
Okay,
prompt,
yes.
'cause then it kind of guides things into what's going to be good for you, doesn't it? Etc.
Sometimes people just get on a roll
I bet they do.
and you think, oh, fine,
Yeah.
no problem. Yes.
But you might want to come and do some close-up pictures,
most-
because obviously when I open a book here, you won't know what's in the
Of
book,
course.
will you?
No, we'll do those. We
Yeah.
will definitely do those. Yeah.
Yeah. You can always do outtakes and editing.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Yep.
We're ready, Claire. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Claire Buckley and I'm a textile artist, teacher and write books, and I also love shoes, and there are often things about shoes in my work. So, do you want to see my very first pair of shoes?
Yes.
Here we go. So they're in my little bag, and these are my first shoes. I didn't buy them, and I wasn't involved in anything to do with the choice of the shoe, because I was, as you can see from the shoes, I was far too little to even speak. But I've always loved red shoes, and I think these were bought for me by my grandma, probably in Heelus in Reading, which is a John Lewis shop, and I've always loved having red shoes. And in fact, the last pair of shoes I bought, by chance, are also quite similar to these little Mary Jane type shoes, which is quite ironic because I went into the shop to buy white shoes. They didn't have the white shoes in my size, so I bought red shoes instead. So that was quite fun. And then when I found about this project, I thought, well, I'll come and talk to Francis about my shoes. And this year, what I'm doing for my drawing project is to draw shoes from my wardrobe. Every day I draw shoes. So this sketchbook I was given for Christmas by a friend, and I worked out that if on each page of the book, if I drew 3 drawings, so for 3 days, I could draw 3 drawings of that particular shoe. Now some shoes, there are more details on it, so I actually do 6 drawings of those shoes. So over the year, I'll probably do around about 100 drawings of shoes and shoe-related objects. So if you want to actually have a look at and do some close-ups, you'll see.
Sure, we will. We
some
will
of the things.
definitely look at the book closely. But just for
Yeah.
the moment, tell us a little bit more about. You're the second person to come in who religiously keeps a sketchbook, and he said, "Keep a sketchbook."
Good.
What's the? What is that practice about? I've written a lot on a daily basis, but I've never
Yes.
drawn. So what does that do to your?
Well, I think as an artist, as a person, it's a really good focus. So it's a bit of a routine, and every morning I get up, have breakfast, and then I do a drawing for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then I do things like washing up. So it's a really nice focus for the day, because it's just a focus out of ordinary everyday things. And drawing is not necessarily about the drawing, it's about the looking that's really key. And in a sense, it doesn't matter what I'm drawing, but it is nice this year I've chosen shoes. First year I did flowers, The second year I did it, I did things around the house. So it was a really nice thing to choose shoes. And it's amazing how I have got enough shoe-related things to do for the whole year, for about 100 different things. They're not necessarily shoes, because I've got that you would wear, then quite often I've got ceramic shoes, I've got a key ring which has got shoes on it, I've got a watch strap from Claire's Accessories, which is flip-flops. The watch is broken, but the watch strap I keep. And I've even got found a doll's foot with a shoe on it that I found in the street, so I picked that up and drew that. And that was actually quite difficult to draw because anatomically it's not like a human foot at all. So it was very strange to draw. And sometimes ceramic shoes are quite difficult to draw because they're not anatomically fitted to a real foot, which is interesting.
This shoes project, the idea is that we're going to take it into a slightly different space.
Yes.
Performance.
Yeah.
Will your shoes take you to a project with the other? Will it be progressive, or is it practice, like the practice of looking?
It is a practice of looking, and it may well take me into a shoe-related project. I don't know, but it's something which I'm doing at the moment, and I'm open-minded as to whether it comes into something else later on. But it is that act of looking. And what's actually really quite addictive is, as I move the pencil over the paper, the shoe appears on the paper, and that's wonderful to have that every day, that kind of magic happening before my eyes. And somehow it is a sort of, it sort of takes over, the shoe arriving on the page. Some shoes are difficult to draw.
There's one more question about the shoes and your other practice, which is textiles.
Yes.
So what's the connection between drawing and textiles?
Drawing starts off every form of design. Without drawing, you can't design, you can't do anything, because as an artist, it's all about looking, and drawing is the first stage of looking and recording what you've seen in the mark making type of things. And I've shown this book to quite a few people, and the first thing they say is, why haven't you put any colour in? Because in my textiles work I put a lot of colour into the work, whereas this is entirely with pencil, and that's very deliberate because I want it to be focused on the looking and using a pencil, and in a sense taking out any kind of decision making. First thing in the morning I don't want to be making choices and using different sorts of colour medium. I want to be focused on the looking and the shoe appearing out of the paper, rather than thinking about, oh, what sort of colour should I use? Is it paint? Is it this? Different sorts of medium. It's entirely about the looking at this stage. Colour comes into other things.
How okay, so all right, just moving on to the shoes themselves. What is it about red? I just said very quickly, I talked about red shoes, and
yes,
the redness of the shoe was very important. Is it?
It is, very much so. In fact, if you go through the book, and I say, as I've said in the book, that none of the shoes have colours in them, but I would say that of any colour in this book of shoes, they are mostly reds. And I just love red. I think red is a wonderful colour. It can be associated with anger and danger and all those sorts of things. But actually, I just think it's a very joyful colour, and it's the colour of life, it's the colour of blood. And it's great when you've got a pair of red shoes on. Not in the sense of the film, which is they take over the ballerina's life, don't they? I just think it kind of gives you life. When you've got red shoes on, they're kind of quite fun.
Brilliant. Okay, I want to know if it's possible to say it without. How far have the red shoes taken you? I mean, one of the questions we've been asking people is, what have you left behind? Because people have, in general, been talking about a pair of shoes. So what did you walk away from, or what do you walk away from when you wear them? And what do you consider that you're walking towards? Is there anything in that question that you could relate your journey in red shoes to?
Thinking about coming here to talk to you today, I was thinking about the most wonderful pair of shoes I had when I think I must have been about 16 or 17, and they were red patent strappy sandals. when we could wear what we wanted to. So I wore those to school as my school uniform, and they were great. Everybody kept saying to me, "Where did you get your sandals from?" And they were only in town in Reading, where I was living. So it wasn't anything particularly unusual, but everybody was admiring these red shoes. And it's sad that I haven't got them still, but there are lots of pairs of shoes I haven't got anymore. But those are a pair I particularly remember, which were red patent leather, which is lovely.
All right then, so I'm going to put in a slight. This is really. I love the way that for you there's an ambiguity about the meaning of the red shoes in the story of the red shoes, and your personal feeling about redness. That's great. I can feel that being really useful to our story, actually.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
because there's a paradox in redness. It's fantastic. So 16 in those shoes. I'm going to just go back to the same question again.
Yeah.
What did you leave behind in your teenage life? That I don't know. Maybe what is still there from teenagerdom in your current life? So is there can you feel qualities that were around in that? The 16-year-old sandals and the...
I think it's just about choice. I like red shoes, I buy them. And I enjoy wearing them. In fact, I've got some red shoes I've never worn, but I do like them. And they're red satin with bits of suede on it. They're very nice. They're probably a bit uncomfortable, but they're very lovely shoes. They're nice to draw.
It sounds like love of colour drives your art. Is there anything else that you'd say is the big driver in your...
Well, working in textiles, I think it's the material qualities of the fabrics and putting fabrics together. I do a lot of weaving where you are actually building up and making the fabric, and particularly tapestry weaving, it's about laying down the colour, gradually the surface appearing from the plain warp. The colour merges up and transforms across the surface. That's something I really enjoy within.
This is a very sensual process, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it's also very methodical and very seductive process when you're putting the threads through the warp and it gradually appears. It is wonderful. That's
another interesting collision, sensuousness and choice. Isn't it?
It is, yes, it is. So that's weaving for you. It's wonderful to put things together. And it's about experimentation, but also about not being frightened of things not working. And I think I'm doing a talk on Monday about colour to some quilt makers, and quilting is a very definite sort of process where you cut up fabrics, place them together and sew them up. And so there is this very definite choices about colour combinations. So it's interesting to talk to them about choices of colour and how colours react when they go together. With red, the complementary is green, so a little bit of green with red shoes can really spark them up. It's important.
Unless there's another question for this position, do you want to go in and have a look at the...
Yeah, well, I just wanted to ask you something more.
Okay.
I want to film your hands and things for cutaways.
Okay.
So if you want to just tell us everything else, and I'll just do that
So
for a while.
you just want Claire to continue?
Just talking about anything, I don't know. Tell us about last year. What were you drawing last year?
Oh, last year I was drawing all sorts of things to do with things around the house. And around my house I've got quite a lot of sewing and textile objects, and things like cotton reels and pairs of scissors and vases and all sorts of bits and pieces that I use around the house. So it was really nice to focus on those, and I mostly did something different each day, so that was quite a choice. And that was quite difficult because I had to keep thinking, what am I going to do today? But that was quite a nice thing to do.
I love red, but I am also scared of red because I think, loving red betrays something about me which maybe I shouldn't. But what you were saying about red being dangerous and can be fierce or angry. I've got a huge red wall in my house and I think, what do people think about all that red?
It's the way it is. It's the way as humans, we have red blood, and every human has red blood. Whatever their skin colour is, inside, it's all the same. So it's not something to be scared of. It's just go with it. It'd be a shock if you cut your hand and the green came out. So
Great.
it's great.
I mean, I want to have a look at the
Yeah, have a look at the
sketchbook.
sheet.
but
Could we
I need
wait
to-
for a little bit longer, like 2 more minutes?
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
Okay.
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Okay.
Hams.
Is there any event then that in your more personal life that's gone into your making of textiles? I mean, we've talked a lot about objects, all right, and you've seen, you
Yeah.
know, that as, I don't know whether the actual shapes end up in the textiles, do they?
Can do.
They can do.
Yeah, can do. Yeah. I did a. Well, I don't want to be boastful. I did a master's degree at Sussex, and it was all about red shoes, and it was about an imaginary me as a 5-year-old going to Barcelona with the red shoes. So the red shoes were slightly magical, and they took this little character around the city. And often in the pictures, all you see are the red shoes taking the person around. So that was an interesting thing. And then I did another course where I was looking at the idea of blushing and incorporated the way that the skin colour changes through blood rushing through the skin. So the colour was the transition of colour through the fabric showed how skin changes through blushing. And so it went from really, really pale whites through to really dark reds, and then back through to whites via a different route through the pinks, which is fascinating. And for the drawings for those, I was using lipstick, which has a very human connection.
You drew with lipstick?
Drew with lipstick, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Basically, lipstick is oil pastels, but you buy it in a little tube and it's nice and soft, and you get some wonderful colours in it. And I did a project where I got my friends to tell me the colours of lipsticks that they wear, and then I embroidered those names onto a 7-metre long piece of work. And then when I see the people, I get them to put a little swatch of the lipstick on the textile, so that it's a commemoration, a memorial of those people represented by the lipstick. So nobody knows the names of the people, we just got the names of the lipstick colours that they use, which is fascinating to do. And I think I've got about 160 plus different names of lipsticks all embroidered on this piece, which is lovely to do. So actually, it's not, the piece of work is everything about reds, but actually there's not much red on it because the fabric is cream linen and the stitching is in grey, shades of greys. So it's to emulate penciled writing.
Okay.
So it's
So it didn't go through actual shades of lipstick,
No.
apart from the marks that people had left of their lipstick.
that's right. Yes, that's right. Or we put a little swatch of the lipstick colour onto the fabric.
Uh-huh. Because that must have gone through a huge gamut, right? Of sort of like a skin.
Oh,
thing.
loads of colours. Yes,
Yes.
yes. And the names are wonderful. I can't remember all of them now, but they were just some incredible names, all for lipsticks.
Right. I'm thinking about the first kind of incredibly sort of spin in pink that I must have worn as a teenager.
Yeah.
That's real.
And that kind of white pink.
Yes.
Yeah. Lipsticks are wonderful.
And then, of course, as I've grown older, it's become almost brown, really.
Yeah.
Which I thought of as very subtle
Yeah.
for some reason. How are we doing, Sandra?
Almost there. But you can. There's one thing that I also wanted to ask you. If you could put the shoes back in the
Back
little
in the
wrap.
bag so you can film them coming out.
Yeah.
I thought you might. This is another little bag. I made this bag.
Oh, really?
Yeah, using
Wow.
these are South African batik fabrics with indigo, natural indigo. So I made this little bag. I think it's based on a Japanese design, and it's great. I use them to put all sorts of things in it, including lunch. Not lunch in this one, but so there we are.
All right. Wait. The notebook was closed as well.
Oh, right, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.